Hello and welcome back to Whiskey Wars. Tonight we'll be reviewing a very special bottle, Elijah Craig Barrel Proof, the new batch. And it took me a while to find this at anywhere near retail. So let's see why this bottle keeps getting marked up so much on secondary. So here's our bottle, but before we get into that, let's do a quick history of who Elijah Craig was. Elijah Craig was a Baptist preacher, and for a while he was actually preaching without a preacher's license. This landed him in jail. But once Elijah Craig got his freedom back, he moved out west to Kentucky, and he moved to what is now Georgetown, Kentucky. And Elijah Craig actually helped found Georgetown, Kentucky, as well as the schools and Georgetown College. But on top of all that, as if he were not busy enough, he also started distilling whiskey, and his whiskey became quite popular. Now, Elijah Craig is touted by the Elijah Craig brand as the father of bourbon. Now, historically, this probably isn't accurate. There's a lot of evidence showing that that's probably not true, but there are several stories that say that either by accident or on purpose, he was the first one to use charred oak barrels, and so the history, which is definitely in quotation marks there, goes. But it's probably more lore than it is actual history. But in any case, that is how this bottle got its name. So let's go ahead and get into it and see what it's all about. Now this is a 12-year-old bourbon. It is barrel proof, and this is batch B521. Now, for those that do not know, Elijah Craig puts out 3 barrel proof versions per year. This is the second version of this year. Now previously I have had batches B520 and A120. So those were the first 2 batches of last year. I did not get the third batch of last year, and I have not had the first batch of this year. But I didn't hear great things about A121, so I'm hopeful that this is better. We will see how it stacks up against the other 2 that I have had. Now, this is barrel proof, as I mentioned before. It is 118.2 proof. So, kind of low for Elijah Craig barrel proofs, but certainly not low just across the board in the whiskey world. But let's see what we get on the nose here. Man, really rich, just oak, tobacco, super rich brown sugar and caramel coming through. I would say some like roasted dates for sure. Maybe like dried plums. Now I don't mean prunes, like when you really dry them out. Almost getting some citrus in there as well. Like an orange note. Maybe a grapefruit. Definitely some cinnamon punching through, maybe a little pepper. And then maybe even some leather in there as well. Which you can expect those kind of tobacco leather notes in older bourbons, which this is. This is the 12-year-old bourbon, so we should expect to have some of those notes in there. Man, that is just a very nice nose. I could spend a lot of time smelling this, but let's get on with the review. Let's see what it tastes like. All right, so a lot of those darker notes are showing up on the palate. You're not getting the caramel as much. You're definitely getting a lot of brown sugar, but it's a heavy brown sugar, almost like a toasted brown sugar. And then definitely getting charred oak in there. That's a very prominent note. And then definitely kind of a sweet tobacco. And you're getting those kind of roasted dark fruits. So like a roasted date, or maybe even a roasted plum. Maybe like a dried orange more on the palate than a fresh orange. But one thing I did notice on that is that it's kind of drying. The palate is a little bit drying, more so than some other barrel proofs have had. Let's go ahead and give it another sip here though and see what else we can get out of it. All right, so a note that I got on that second go round, on top of the other things I've already said, was I also got almost like a honey baked ham, just a slight smokiness in there. It's not real prominent, but there it is there, and then just kind of a sweet smoky ham in there. Yeah, and that kind of adds some depth to it. But I would say that if you've ever had something that's been over smoked, now I barbecue a lot and I smoke things a lot in my smoker. So if you ever had anything that's been over smoked, then you know how that can kind of dry out your palate. It's almost slightly astringent. There's kind of that happening here a little bit. I wouldn't say that it's the prominent flavor, but you get that slightly. That kind of takes away from it some. I think overall though, this is a very nice bourbon. I don't think that it's up there with the secondary prices I've been seeing. I've been seeing this bottle as high as $130 locally. I don't personally think it's worth $130. I paid $80 for this one, which is $10 over retail. And I think it's worth that. I think it's worth $80. Maybe even $90, $100's kind of pushing it. I would, if you could find it for $80 or $70, which is retail, that's really probably where you want to be. It is a nice expression from Elijah Craig. I don't want to take a whole lot away from it because it is a very nice sipping bourbon, especially if you like higher proof. But just something to think about is that I don't think it really stacks up to, especially the B521, and I would say even the A120 is probably a little better than this as well. I do like, though, that it isn't as high a proof. Now I know some people are going to give me crap in the comments about that, but I personally don't like it when we get into 130 plus proof. To me, that's just too much. You just get too much alcohol punch, and that's just not really my thing. I like a good 115 to 125, somewhere in that range. That's kind of where my comfortable range is for a sipping whiskey. Now, if I'm in the mood, then maybe I'll go for the higher proof stuff, but that's kind of more of a mood thing. And to me, the proof on this is nice. You're not getting a really strong alcohol punch. That is one thing that I will say about this, is it does not drink like it's 118 proof, at least from my personal experience. So if you see this around, especially at retail, I think it's absolutely worth a buy. And even maybe $10, $20 over retail, I would pick it up just to have the experience, especially if you've never had Elijah Craig Barrel Proof. Definitely grab it if you can get it anywhere near retail. Now, folks, as always, if you like this video, hit that like button. That helps out the channel tremendously. And if you really liked it, then please subscribe, because there's plenty of more of these videos coming. And also, don't forget to comment. If you've experienced this bottle, let me know your thoughts. What are your nosing and tasting notes that you're getting? I'd love to see those so we can compare notes and see maybe you're getting something else that I didn't, or maybe you're seeing prices that are crazier than even what I've seen. You know, a lot of people think that Kentucky is just like bourbon heaven, but that has not been my experience. And I drive all around Kentucky, and unfortunately, most shops around here, liquor stores, are selling things at almost secondary prices. So don't be fooled into thinking that you're going to come to Kentucky and get every whiskey you ever wanted at retail. It's not going to happen, unfortunately. I wish that were true. I thought that when I moved here, but unfortunately that's just kind of rumor. So again, if you enjoyed this video, hit that like, and as always, folks, just remember, you can never have too much good whiskey.